And today on our Dear Claire series, we're asking the question, what is a title report? So grab your cup of tea and let's chat. What is a title report? So a lot of what you're dealing with in the purchase process of buying a home is trying to get insurance on things happening because it's such a huge purchase, and a lot of times you need an insurance policy for those things. So to create a title policy or an insurance policy for you, what it's going to be making sure is that you have clear title to the home. And what that means is there are no liens against the property besides the ones that you put on it. So if you're getting a loan, you're the only loan that is on your property. Title insurance makes sure that that's the case. And to issue that title insurance policy, they're going to do a report on the buyer, a report on the seller, and a report on the house. So some of the things you're going to see that come up on the house are all kinds of weird stuff. Homeowners associations that are defunct, CC&Rs, which are conditions, covenants, and restrictions. So they might have rules about what you can and can't do on your property. They're going to come up with a plat map that's got all these really cool designs and show you exactly when the house was subdivided, what it looked like in 1950. It'll show you what the property taxes are for the last year. It'll give the legal description of the property, and this is all stuff having to do with the house. I'll give you a funny story. I had a client a couple years back who was actually a sommelier, and we were just buying a normal house on a normal street in Portland. We got the title report, and it literally said she could have no alcoholic substances on the premises because when the property was created, it was during Prohibition, and they specifically forbid any alcoholic substances. So she decided that she just wanted to purchase the property. We joked about how there might be ghosts that would haunt her, that they didn't want alcoholic substances on the premises, but there was no one alive that really cared. So all kinds of weird stuff can show up on there. And typically as a buyer, you can get out of the transaction if there's anything in there that you don't like. Another part of the title report is going to be a report on the buyer. So because you're buying a home, the lender's going to check and make sure that all the debt that you've reported to them is all the debt that shows up on your name. So if your name is John Smith, it's going to take a little bit more to figure out, okay, which ones of John Smith's student loans are yours? Or is this your car loan, or is that some other John Smith's car loan? They're also going to check if you have back child support, back alimony. All of those things are going to have to be taken care of and proven that they're up to date for you to be able to purchase the home. So I had a buyer once who had been divorced, and they had an agreement for alimony, and there was $1 million recorded judgment against him for alimony, and we had to find his ex-wife and get her to sign off and say that his payments were up to date, and then we had to get the underwriter to sign off on it because they didn't like the idea that he had an outstanding bill technically for $1 million. But we ended up working it out. Just took more time and effort. If you're going through the process right now of buying a home, I'd recommend you check out another video of ours specific to a buyer buying a home and review that in regards to the title report. For the portion of the report that pertains to the seller, they're going to check and make sure that there are no tax liens against the seller, or if there are, they have to be paid. They're going to make sure they have all of the mortgage information in an up-to-date amount that has to be paid. They're going to check on the home equity lines of credits. They might check on any child support or alimony that you might have. Anything that's recorded against the seller is going to need to be paid before they can transfer the deed to the new buyer and have that buyer have clear title to the property. So on the selling side, I could bore you to tears or terrify you with all the crazy things that have happened on the seller side of title reports. when someone passes away. This particular instance, the mother had passed away and all the children were inheriting the property. There were 4 children, and those 4 children were fighting. 2 of them ended up taking a loan against the property to fix it up, and the loans that they took against the property were more than what the house was going to sell for. And so it was a bit of a nightmare trying to get the other 2 siblings who weren't aware of what had happened to sign off, because they weren't going to get any money out of the entire sale. So the moral of that story is you should definitely communicate with your siblings if you're in an estate. But really, it just goes to show how important a title report is, because that buyer ended up not being able to buy that house because they couldn't come up with enough money to pay off all of the debts that were against the sellers. I hope that helps you understand what a title report is. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for tuning in to this Dear Claire episode. If you found this helpful, or if you have any additional questions, comment below and hit the thumbs up, and we'll see you next time.